Hello, in the last video we learned how to plot a quadratic function, and the quadratic function was basically given in the standard form. So in this video what we are going to learn is we are going to learn plotting a quadratic function, but this time the quadratic function will be in general form. So let us see. So what is the general form of a quadratic function? It is function of x equals ax square plus bx plus c. So we are going to try to learn how to plot this type of general form of a quadratic function. So as usual, like before, I'm going to divide my screen into two half, and I'm going to try to solve a problem on the right hand side simultaneously while I'm writing the steps. So we are going to solve a problem, or we are going to try to sketch function of x equals 2x square plus 8x minus 10. So now let's start. So first of all, I'm going to write down each step one by one. So number one step is identify a, b and c. So what I do, identify a, b and c. So for the problem, step number one is as you can see, a will be 2, b will be positive 8 and c will be negative 10. So a is positive 2, b is positive 8 and c is negative 10. So we identified a, b and c. Now the second step is exactly same as before. If a is greater than 0, then my graph will open up. Okay, so if a is greater than 0, graph will open up, and if a is less than 0, graph is going to open down. So for step number 2 of my particular problem, or the given problem, here my a is 2, so which is greater than 0, so our graph is going to opens up. So it is going to opens up. Okay, now and then step number 3, so let me use another color. So step number 3 is finding the vertex. Okay, so we know that vertex is basically hk. All right, now previously we found hk directly. So in this type of equation, when I have ax square plus bx plus c, in this type of general form, my h is going to be equal to, so my h will be equal to negative b over 2a, and k will be equal to function of h. All right, so this is the formula to find the vertex. So let us apply this formula in our particular problem. So step number 3, so what is the definition of h? H is equals negative b over 2a. Now negative is negative, we have nothing to do with here. What is b? My b is 8, so let's put it 8, and 2 is 2. Now a, what is my a? My a is 2. So I got what? Negative 8 over 4. So I got h equal to negative 2. So I found h equal to negative 2. So let me rewrite it. So h is negative 2. Now what is my k? My k is a function of h. Okay, and what is my h? H is negative 2. So I need to find function of negative 2. Now what is the definition of function of x? The definition of function of x is what? 2x square plus 8x minus 10. So 2x square plus 8x minus 10. Now instead of x, I have to replace it what? With negative 2. So instead of x, I'm going to write negative 2 here. So let me use another color. So it is negative 2, here it is negative 2. So what I am end up with is 2, negative 2 square is positive 4. So 2 multiplied by 4, positive 8 multiplied by negative 2 is negative 16 and negative 10. So if I manipulate those result, I'm going to get negative 18. So my k is negative 18. So what is ultimately my vertex? So my vertex is vertex hk is at negative 2, negative 18. So that's why my vertex is. Also remember, my graph opens up, okay, as a is 2. So my graph opens up and vertex at 2, negative 18. So what I am going to do before I write step number 4, I am going to try to plot whatever we already found. Okay, so to plot, let me set up the problem. So here I have my y axis. So this is my y axis and this is my x axis. So this is x axis and this is my y axis. Now we found that my vertex is at negative 2, negative 18. So negative 2, negative 18 is somewhere here. So here is my negative 2, negative 18. Now also I know that my graph opens up. So if my graph opens up, approximately remember this will be parabola, and of course the parabola will be symmetric about the vertical line passing through the vertex. So it will be something like that. So this is my approximate drawing. Of course we have to find out this x-intercept. Also we have to find out this y-intercept. Okay, so let's see. So let us now try to see our step number 4. So step number 4 is finding x-intercept. So find x-intercept. Now if you remember how we find x-intercept for any function, we put y equal to 0. So we put y which is also equals function of x equal to 0. Okay, now let us see for our particular problem. My function of x is 2x square plus 8x minus 10. So let me rewrite this function. So what I got my function of, so this is my step number 4. So my function of x, original function, equals 2x square plus 8x minus 10. Now for x-intercept, I am going to equate function of x equal to 0. So 0 equals 2x square plus 8x minus 10. Now as you can see, this is a quadratic function. Now how to solve a quadratic equation? We can solve it by quadratic formula, we can solve it by factoring, we can use completing the square method, any method you like. Okay, so what I am going to do, I am going to use actually quadratic formula. So if I use quadratic formula, what's the formula itself? The formula itself is x equals minus b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. So if I now plug in all my values, so I have minus is minus. What is my b here? B is 8 plus minus square root b square. So b is 8, so 8 square minus 4. Then what is my a? A is my 2. So a is 2 and multiplied by c. What is my c? C is negative 10. So c is negative 10 over 2a. So 2 and a is of course 2. So let's see our results. So in the denominator I have 4 and then negative 8 plus minus square root. So let us see 8 square. So let me use another color. So here I have 8 square. So 8 square is actually 64. So 8 square is 64. Now here I have negative 4 multiplied by 2, so negative 8. Negative 8 multiplied by negative 10 is positive 80. So which turns out to be equal to negative 8 plus minus square root 144 over 4. So which is basically equal to negative 8 plus minus square root of 144 is 12 over 4. So if you manipulate or simplify, you are going to find x is equals 1 and negative 5. So what are my x-intercepts? So my x-intercept is x equals 1, y equals 0, and x equals negative 5, y equals 0. So these two are my x-intercepts. So let's put this x-intercept on my graph paper. So on my graph paper, so what I have, this is going to be what? 1, x equal to 1, y equal to 0 point. So this is my point. And what is this x-intercept? It will be negative 5 0. So now I need to find only this y-intercept. So let's do the last step. So step number 5 is find y-intercept. If you remember from our all the previous lecture, to find y-intercept we need to put x equal to 0. So put x equal to 0 in the equation, right? So these are my all the steps. So let's do step number 5 for our problem. So let me rewrite. What's my equation? Y equals originally 2x square plus 8x minus 10. So now I am going to put what? X equal to 0 in this particular equation. So what I get? Y equals 2 0 square plus 8 multiplied by 0 minus 10. So I basically got y equals minus 10. So what is going to be my y-intercept? For y-intercept, my x equal to 0, y equals negative 10. So this is my y-intercept. So let's put this value. So this is my y-intercept, and that coordinate is 0, negative 10. So this is finally the plot of my quadratic function in general form. Okay, so thank you very much, and that will be basically end of our this section, quadratic function. So we are going to study the next chapter.